Arsenal have rattled Manchester City. I haven't seen Pep and City like this since he's been in the Premier League. That game at the weekend, for me, the best Premier League game I have seen in a long, long time. Big moments, red cards, VAR, goals, last minute equalizers, two different styles of play. And finally, we have got a rivalry at the top. Last season and the season before that, City and Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp and Guardiola. And it was a rivalry, but it wasn't a proper Premier League rivalry. I'm talking Ferguson, Wenger, Ferguson, Jose, Wenger. Alex Ferguson, Pep, a proper rivalry where it boiled over and there was no animosity on the pitch. Now we've got that. And I have not seen Manchester City rattled like this in a long, long time. Their fans on socials, TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, hell of a lot of rival fans out there that are rattling City, and Arsenal have gone to the Etihad, had 10 men for 56 minutes, come away with a point, and Man City can't take that. Make sure you go down, drop a like, make sure you have subscribed to the channel. Make sure you have subscribed. We are slowly approaching 24,000 subscribers as it stands right now. We are less than 400 away. 350 odd subs away. So make sure you get down and do that. Premier League at the weekend, fantastic game. Now, I want to cast everyone's minds back to something Rodri said last season, in which Manchester City drew 0-0 with Arsenal. And they come out and said, you can't celebrate a draw. You shouldn't be celebrating a draw. It's not the right mentality to have, etc., etc., etc. Now, I don't disagree that you should be able to celebrate last-minute goals, last-minute equalizers, last-minute winners. Of course, the sport's got a lot of emotion in it. But by Manchester City celebrating that goal, that equalizer, you're also then celebrating a draw. So what Rodri said last season has kind of been contradicted because Manchester City have celebrated a draw. Now, in the grand scheme of things, I think based on that defensive display, Arsenal deserved something out of that game. They were fantastic. You could argue Manchester City deserved something out of that game as well because they did not give up. And sometimes when you keep trying something so many times and it doesn't happen, it's hard to obviously lose, that faith that someone's going to bail you out. In terms of Arsenal, I don't necessarily buy into the fact that they're a poor attacking side or they don't have what it takes to be champions. Well, let's just look at it this way, right? Arsenal, yes, they're 2 points below City and they're 1 point below Liverpool. However, there's context needed to be applied here because Manchester City have only had one really tough game, and that was Chelsea. I don't think, if you've taken away the Arsenal game, I don't necessarily think the other games they've had, the likes of Ipswich, the likes of Brentford, other teams in there, I don't necessarily think they're hard games for Manchester City. However, Arsenal have played a North London derby against their rivals. They've played Manchester City away and they've played Aston Villa away. They still have not had a defeat yet, and they've only conceded 3 goals. And one of those goals, actually 2 of those goals, while they had 10 men on the pitch. If they had 10 men against Manchester City and 11 men against City and 11 men against Brighton, I think they win both of those games. Arsenal in that last 10 minutes showed why they are Premier League challengers. And Manchester City, Guardiola's come out of a number of things. Arteta's come out of a number of things. I don't necessarily think Arteta did anything wrong. I don't see another way in which he could have played that game out in the second half. These City fans are absolutely drilling them, etc., etc., etc. It's not, it's not a good way of playing. What do you expect those players and, Arsenal to do from that perspective of being, down to 10 men? Guardiola's come out today and say that he'd always try to play football the right way. There isn't a right way of playing football. Jose Mourinho, Diego Simeone, Antonio Conte, Thomas Tuchel, loads of managers have won major honours, Champions Leagues, league titles on a counter-attacking style of football. Just because they're not doing the high press for 90 minutes doesn't necessarily mean that it's not the right way of playing. if it wins you trophies, in which I do think this approach to football that um that you know that Arteta has, the ability to change up different styles. And this is what Pep Guardiola has said on an interview. We are an honest team. Pep Guardiola explains how he prepares his side to deal with teams that may try to time waste. What do you expect them to do? Like, all jokes aside, they're down to 10 men. They're at your ground. They're at their rival's ground. Whether you think the red card was justified or not, let's just take that out of the conversation for a minute. They are down to 10 men. He is so rattled. It's unreal. He's so rattled. Arteta's come out since then today on his press conference for looking forward to tomorrow's game. I'm extremely proud of what we did at the Etihad. We showed desire. We adapt to different ways of playing. That's superb. Happy? No, we wanted to win, but it was difficult. Then we had to deal with as many players as we had out. I'm proud. Like, as you can see there, is he happy with the win? No. That just shows you right there that the mentality is changing within Arteta. He's extremely proud of what he did. Yeah, he had, I think, any team playing 10 men down at, I think any team playing at the Etihad with 10 men coming away with a point, any fixture in the league playing away at their ground, coming back with 10 men, you should be relatively happy with a point. You're at a disadvantage. I think it's absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. He's proud of what they did, and that's absolutely that's that's fair to a degree. I don't necessarily get why Guardiola, Guardiola has got a very difficult task on his hand to win the Premier League title without Rodri, and if any manager can do it, of course it is Guardiola, arguably the greatest manager of all time, and in a lot of people's opinions, he is. Doing it without your most important player in that many competitions. Manchester City, again, are playing tonight. Rodri may have had a point when it comes to talking about players need a little bit more rest. 4 games in 10 days at the highest level is a hell of a lot of football. And then Manchester City have got Newcastle on Saturday, and then they've got a game the following Tuesday against Slavian Bratislava. Then they play on Saturday again. Then they have international break and they come back away to Wolves and they have Champions League again. Like, the fixtures are coming thick and fast. But it is also the same for everyone. So I think the players, the clubs, there's rumours of players going on strike. You look at Arsenal's perspective, they've got Bolton tonight. Then they play Leicester. Then they play PSG. Then they play Southampton. Then they've got Bournemouth. According to Mikel Arteta, he is not expecting Martin Odegaard to be back before the October international break, which means he probably will be back for the first game afterwards, maybe have some minutes off the bench, and then kind of, you'd imagine, go from there. Fabrizio Romano has put out Odegaard back. It will only be a matter of weeks, but I still can't argue. I still can't guarantee when. I can't tell you more on this, but the October international break is unlikely. So if you look at Arsenal's fixtures, and of course, there hasn't been a complete announcement, but a lot of people are or do believe it is a tear on his ACL. So you'd imagine Odegaard will be back around the Bournemouth fixture. He may feature off the bench. And then he probably would get a start against Shakhtar Donetsk. And then they definitely need him for that Liverpool game. They've got more than enough to get through up until then. If they can get a point at City, if they can beat Spurs and Villa without him, then I think they can, I think they'll beat Leicester. It's now about, for Arsenal, it's about winning the next 4 games at the Emirates, building some momentum, because if for whatever reason, if they go and lose to Leicester and PSG, then all of a sudden, a lot of people that have been giving them praise and a lot of people's opinions will change. I still think throughout this season, they are going to have one hell of a season. And with this injury, just kind of almost to a degree, I agree with it. You know, that they are going to have a really, really strong season. I think at present, Arsenal, if they can keep their players fit, why can't they go on and win major honours? Why can't they? You know, there's been unseen footage of Manchester City's bench celebrating John Stones' equaliser after Arsenal, against Arsenal. But you can also see Jack Grealish, Erling Haaland, and Bernardo Silva piping up to Arsenal's bench. This is what we want to see. We want to see a Premier League rivalry, guys. We want to see big moments, drama, action. You know, as great as the teams were at Liverpool under Klopp, and as great as the team was Guardiola with City, you never really got that heightened drama. You never really got those big, big moments. Of course, Liverpool won a Premier League. Of course, they won a Champions League. Of course, City have won practically everything you can win. But a lot of those games between the two juggernauts of English football in the last decade have to a degree been not boring. And the football was fantastic, but you also want to talk about the individual battles, like how is Gabriel and Haaland going to get on back at the Emirates? How is, De Bruyne and Odegaard going to get on? Is De Bruyne going to be fit? How does Foden come back into the mix? How does Guardiola cope without Rodri? How are Arsenal going to cope with the rotation between the Premier League and Champions League? And all that boils up, and you get to that one game, and you just need that X factor. You need those huge, huge moments. And that's what we want to get our teeth into. That's what you just love to see. And the last fixture, I think you really saw something like that. It reminded me of their Thomas Tuchel and Antonio Conte to a degree. There was one game where Romero had an absolutely huge a huge moment at the end. Sky Sports Premier League have come out 10 minutes ago with Mikel Arteta's words with regards to using the dark arts. I don't know why everyone's so obsessed with it. Jose Mourinho made a career out in this. Mikel Arteta has defended Arsenal's tactics in their draw with Manchester City. I always prefer the facts rather than words. So let's see who's available tomorrow. And then we can talk about dark arts. Mikel Arteta defends Arsenal tactics. What else is he supposed to do? I just don't understand it. I don't get it from a footballing perspective. If he goes out and plays toe-to-toe with Manchester City, they're going to get slapped. We saw that. Ange Postecoglou tried to do it with 9 men against Chelsea. We saw Liverpool get applauded for defending with 9 men against Tottenham. Yes, Tottenham scored at the very, very end. But Liverpool in that game were also hard done by the refs. So I don't get this pile on. I really don't. Like, looking at this down the straight and narrow, what more are they supposed to do? You let me know your thoughts. Make sure you drop a like. Make sure you have subscribed. And I'll see you all soon.